Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Well, it's a little different because we are doing a live stream today in celebration of Small Business Week. We typically do this every so often, so it will probably be back for Juneteenth. So we come back in and we put the video cameras on. So if you're able to tune in with us, awesome. We're going to be here for about an hour to really celebrate small business. But we've got an incredible guest, and I'm so excited because it took us a while to get him. So I'm excited that he is in the studio. But I just want to say, for many of you all, if this is your first time listening to us, welcome to Black Businesses Matter. If this isn't, welcome back. And my name is Larvetta Lofton. I am the host of Black Businesses Matter. I am also the founder of the L3 Agency, which is a marketing and communications firm. And it's Small Business Week. And what I want to say is, this is what I just read. Every year since 1963, U.S. presidents issued Small Business Week as a proclamation to recognize the contributions of entrepreneurs and small business owners. So I've been in business for almost 24 years, right?
Congrats.
Thank you. And so I'm going to introduce our guest next. But what I found interesting is that we've never really heard, we've never really celebrated, we never really honor. And so I think we have to take a pause and just honor small businesses. Like, we just have to take a pause. And if you are on and you have a small business, drop it in our comments and just drop your business in. And we want to celebrate you for the work because it's something that is important, and I don't see enough of this. I don't say we don't have it. We just don't have enough of it. So I want to make sure that Small Business Week is being celebrated. We do it for a number of different, you've got Black Business Week. We have Women's History Month. We have all of this, but for Small Business Week. And the reason why it's important is because the census stated that a small business is one with fewer than 500 employees, according to the Small Business Administration. And the Census Bureau Business Dynamics statistics indicate that there were 5,358,600 such firms in 2021. We are up by 5,322,155 in 2020. So I think there lies. Well, actually, we went down a little bit. And so it looks like they're saying that there's going to be still an increase in small business. So I just want to make sure that we honor that there are 5 million small businesses in the world. So that's a lot, right? So I want to introduce our guest this afternoon as we celebrate Black businesses, but we also celebrate small businesses because that is important. And this friend, colleague, mentor, advocate, I'm so grateful to have Vincent. I've had the pleasure of meeting him in so many different capacities. And when people say, "Oh, you know Vincent? You know Vincent?" you know you're doing something right when everybody's saying that. So I want to introduce you all to Vincent Williams. He is the founder and the principal consultant for J.V. Williams Consulting Group, a strategic boutique consulting firm located in Chicago that focuses on business strategy, diversity, equity, inclusion, and access initiatives minority certification, economic development for disinvested communities. He also serves as the Director of Operations for Entrepreneurs Academy, which is a 501c3 organization rooted in the Austin community of Chicago that possesses a strong track record of serving socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, and I love this, inclusive of veterans, the LGBT Love It community, and especially those formerly incarcerated who are re-entering society. The organization provides entrepreneurship training, curriculum, workshops, advising services, and technical assistance to those seeking assistance with their entrepreneurial journey. While I am welcoming this powerhouse to the show, I also want to just honor him today for just sharing with us that he literally just closed on what, 250,000?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes.
congratulations, Vincent. Yes.
Thank you.
And this is Small Business Week. So
Small
yes.
Business Week, yeah.
So
keeping it going.
Excited to have you, Vincent.
Thank you.
It
so
took
much
us a
for
while.
having me.
It took us a while to get
did,
to
but that's okay. All
us a
things
while.
in time, right?
It is.
All things in time.
It took us a while. It's funny because Vincent, you were actually on my when I did Crisis Currency during COVID, and we were talking about, so you've somewhat come back to me, but we certainly have pivoted from that space. And so
I love our conversation.
I do too. I know. And when we talked about Couture and we were talking about the live stream and who we wanted, we were like unequivocally you. Literally, Vincent should be here to talk about this. You've been in this space for a long time. Yeah. This is just a small paragraph of what Vincent does, but literally there's about 3 paragraphs. But
I stand on them.
You do. You really, really do. And so I really want to talk to you, Vincent, like for you to be in these roles, you too are an entrepreneur. And I think you've had some businesses. Can you share some of those businesses, how you've pivoted? And so share with people as we talk about small businesses.
Absolutely. So I'd like to thank you. Thank you and everything you're doing with Black Businesses Matter podcast. This is a phenomenal opportunity to just share my experience, what I've known growing up. I think those that may know me and some that may not know me. And so with your audience here, I'm a 3rd-generation entrepreneur.
Wow.
My grandfather owned a filling station when they would actually come out to the car and fill up your car. He was one of the first Black franchisees of Marathon Filling Station.
Wow.
Right on 111th and the Bishop Ford.
Wow.
So right where the Walmart and all that stuff is there now. Yeah, we know that back in the day.
Wow.
And then my parents owned a skating rink.
Oh.
Roller Arena? In Roseland, 103rd in Michigan, right down the hill, right there across from Metro Music. Yeah. So I grew up in both of those environments where essentially, spraying down skates, getting everyone coming in, but my family did not want anyone to know that we were a Black-owned business.
Tell me why.
And so because during those times, it was difficult for them to get suppliers to even drop off skates or someone to come and fix the wood floors or someone to repair the carpet or the air conditioning from the filling station. So we had someone within the organization that was passing, Hispanic, but looked white, if you will, that served as the front person. Yeah. And so when anyone came, parents and granddad was in the background, but he was the one that, they was like, okay, yeah, absolutely, we'll fix and do this. Yeah. And I share that story because today, as an educator, as an advocate, particularly for Black businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, and ultimately small businesses, I stress the importance of acknowledge that you're a woman-owned business, that you are justice impacted, that you're a veteran, that you're minority-owned. It's to your advantage, Dave, because many people really want to intentionally work with these businesses today. And unfortunately, my family's no longer with us. I'm the sole survivor. So I try to say, I want this next generation of entrepreneurs to really know that value and that importance and stand on the shoulders of those Black businesses and those small businesses before us that had to fight and are still fighting. Yeah. We're still fighting.
Yes, we are.
And so I channel all that with, various types of, my parents always thought it was about multiple streams of income.
That's right.
Baby, you better get some of those, get that bag now.
I agree.
And so I look at it as, how many different ways, because if something goes down, and I think the pandemic really showcased that for a lot of small businesses that weren't able to pivot so quickly. Yeah. But if you had a different stream of income on an alternate stream of income coming in, then maybe it wasn't such a stressful time for you. And so just sharing some of those things are there.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I want to pause where you talked about how your family, were not able to share that they were Black owned. Because I think we don't, we need to sit with that, because I think when we see certain businesses that do not or don't want to be called that, or they're like, hey, we're here to serve communities.
Right.
I think we still have residue there. But I think knowing the history gives them grace and understand that also was how it was. Mm-hmm. And so we've heard of, there's redlining and all of these things. And so when you say that and you think of this roller rink, right, that they did not want to showcase that they were Black owned or minority owned, or, look, we're just here to serve the community. And so I'm grateful that today I think we're pivoting, but I do think that there are businesses that choose to not say that.
Yeah, it's very true. And I'm glad that you're touching on that. You may recall when we first met, I was streaming the film Boss, the Black Experience in Business. Yes, I do. Yes. That essentially talked about Black Wall Street and everything that was happening. And my thought process behind that was that I wanted all the various communities that I took this film into to stream, and then afterwards host a panel discussion with particularly Black business owners from the community to share, are they having similar experiences there? And what I wanted to show was, I think, for entrepreneurs and those that are thinking of getting into the, I won't even call it a rat race. I'll just say the race. Yep. And it is a marathon race.
It is a marathon.
It's not a sprint.
Sure isn't.
Right?
Absolutely.
You take your time with this and get these experiences nurture in. But I really wanted them to understand what we had to go through as a race of people in order to sustain. Yeah. And it was necessary to have that Black Wall Street, because we couldn't go over to the bakery over here or get our hair cut over there or get, appliances or hardware or anything at all there. The times have changed. Now, I can drive to Oak Brook and go to a hardware store over there or a specialty store or something like that. But you still get some of these situations where you're like, do they want my money?
Right.
Do they deserve my money?
Right.
Is someone in their circle look like me?
Correct.
And this makes me think now, I just want this next generation to know about it. Yeah. Even if it's not something that weighs you down or on the shoulders, because they don't have to go through as many challenges as, say, we did as an older generation, but they still have to understand that, because I think you have to know where you came from to know where you're going.
That's true. Right. And I think a lot of where we come from, which is why, right, they took a lot of our history is taken out of the books in the schools. So in the business, we always want to know the why, because then we can build out a thoughtful campaign based on that why versus, people should know this and maybe they don't know.
Exactly.
And I think us understanding the impact that had and the effect, right, that it had on how people show up. Yeah. Because when we show up hiding some of our gifts, some of our superpowers, some of our wealth. Yeah. Right? Because if I show you too much, are you going to rob? And it's interesting, Vince, I do remember the Boss, and I love that. I loved it, but then I also love the panel discussion of us being able to have that.
You shared some incredible stuff during it. You really stressed the importance of what it's like for you as a professional service organization that's women-owned and Black-owned, and how many do not look to you to provide those services when you have the full capacity to handle.
Absolutely.
And walk away like what?
Right, exactly. Right. And walk away like what?
Why didn't you know?
Why didn't you know this?
Why didn't you know?
And it's funny because people would say when, and I'll say this from, having a company, and we were kind of talking about multicultural.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting that I thought like Black firms can do general market because that's how we were trained, right? We are only having niche market is because we want to impact those marginalized communities.
Absolutely.
But ordinary, like when you go to school, you learn it from a general market space. Yeah. But there's a part where we can't talk. They can talk to multicultural, marginalized communities, but we are unable to do it. And I think that's also unfair. Exactly. It's very, to me, it's a part of injustice around that. And I think one of the things I went to at the University of Chicago was on business diversity. And I can't remember the name of the business out of Chicago, but professional service business. And one of the things that he talked about was bidding. So when you get a project, you bid, and say the project is $1 million, he said, right? But they needed these particular supplies to order to bid, right?
Yep.
And so you bring this partner on. Well, those same partners would be working with 5 different agencies, but the Black firm, they will price higher, right? That will make it where we are not able to bid because you've priced too high. Right. So then that
you price yourself out of it.
Correct.
Process,
but you didn't know that you priced yourself, right? So you're taking what they said is their quote, right? This is their quote. Okay, this is this. So then that Black firm is like, okay, I got to find another one. I got to find another vendor, right? Yeah. And typically that vendor isn't kind of checked off, whether that's license, certification, insurance, credit worthy, whatever it is, right? And so then he said on that side, so then we priced out, right? So we submit, we priced out. Well, those guys, the other guys, they work together, they bring their costs down, they win. But then what ends up happening is they will come to us because they then later when they get the business, they'll come to us and say, hey, let's partner to do this. All costs are lower, right? So now we have to go lower to go partner with them. Right. That's the game when you're just saying it. And that's the game that we don't talk about it because they literally are devised. They will send a quote. And I am what I believe is very transparent about what you're going to see. What I give you is the same thing you're going to see over there. Right. And that's clear. Yeah. Now, my corporate, you're going to see something a little bit different because they require a little bit more from you, right? Sure. But my small businesses, if we put you all in the same room, you're going to have the same cost, right? But I think my question about this is, we understand this, but when is it going to be time? When do we have transparency around this idea of supplier and business? Because when you bring up that for your family, I think that's unfortunate, but I think that that's happening even today, Vince.
Yeah. And I think it's going to continue to happen for a while because you don't want, you have these organizations that don't want people to see that level of transparency. There's disparity studies that are conducted all the time. The one that recently came out about just the city of Chicago and how low they are when it comes to their intentional diversity spend with Black and brown entrepreneurs. Yeah. And it's all, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. When you look at a city of our population, our diverse population, and that they can't or use the excuse, it seems, to say, we're not able to find them. Yeah. Well, where are you looking? Yeah. Because I know at least 1,000.
Exactly.
that have the capabilities and that can do it. It's just how do we get that to happen? And then how do we celebrate that? Yeah. And that's what I love about what you're doing with this podcast and being able to share how small businesses, by definition, still have the capacity to do these
incredible work. Outstanding work.
And continue
to do that. And employ others.
Absolutely.
And allow for, and I think one of the reasons why I had created this was the fact that I said that when we speak from a Black employers Black businesses are the largest employers of Black people.
Absolutely.
And so when you take us as one unit, we're making an impact because, right, those employees get to see someone that looks like them. Yeah. What does that do? I can do what she does, right? Or I can build something, or I'm learning from her and I can see where she started from this point to here. So that right there is impactful. And I think that that's the difference between when we look at other, even generations, we look at it and you say, oh, okay, I see myself. And I'll tell you this, I grew up in a high-rise building, primarily for middle-class families in South Loop. And I worked for a daycare center. It was Black-owned, husband, wife, right? Daycare center. Worked there. They had multiple businesses. They had that daycare center.
Yeah.
They had a jewelry business. And then they also had another business that was primarily in the community. Now, they were in a different community, drove to our community to service us from a daycare. But sitting there, and I went into that place of business, introduced myself. Do you have any available opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't the traditional, fill out an application. You know what I mean? It was just like I walked in, hey, I live in this building, right? But here's what she saw. She won't have a problem with transportation. So we also don't understand proximity also plays a role in understanding, like, if I can employ people that are within this 5, the chances of them showing up, the chances of them having pride are going to be greater.
Absolutely.
And so we also don't understand about proximity.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, do you see there opportunities where you have small businesses and they are employing within that 5 to 10 mile radius where there is longevity for that employee?
Absolutely. I think you're always going to continue to see that from our perspective, meaning the Black business perspective, because many times our brick and mortar stores are placed or are positioned in our communities.
Facts.
And so therefore we are going to employ those from that community, meaning those that look like us. And there's this level of understanding that comes with that too, because I know probably what your family communal unit is like. I know that you may not have had others in your family that have had a brick and mortar or a business like this. So the opportunity for me to control the narrative and change how you think about things, how you're seeing life, how you are experiencing employment from a Black owner, right? There's so many opportunities for education and to do the right thing, if you will. And that's what I love about being able to share that historical aspect of the of Black Wall Street to now. And then I think we're still seeing where you have situations where, yes, you can travel to get there, but this is something that you think of as a small business is when I look into do a type of feasibility study to understand, am I close to transportation?
Right.
So just in case, because
facts.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. I agree.
My car went down. It's in the shop, whatever it is. But you know what? I can still get to work because I can do this. Or I have some measures in place, like the ride sharing capabilities now, or the scooters, or the bikes, the divvy bikes. But are we seeing those in our community?
No.
Enough that I can get to that. I can take that last mile from public transportation to get to my establishment, to get to my job and do that, and safely.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, there's so many things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that as an advisor that I try to say now is, particularly as Black businesses and in celebration of National Black Business Week or National Small Business Week.
But we can
always
still
want to
say
throw
that.
it in.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
right?
It's okay. We like
I
it.
always want to throw it in. Is that, how do we continue to provide for our communities so that they don't have to go outside?
Yeah.
And this is where the diverse businesses need to come in.
Absolutely.
I don't need another chicken shack. I don't need another hair salon.
Right.
I don't need another liquor store.
Yep.
I don't need another barbershop.
And I don't need another
I
Subway.
love those.
No disrespect, but I don't need another Subway.
Who probably is not owned by us.
I know. I agree.
They're coming from outside our community to bring that in, and then they leave and take that money
Correct.
right back out.
Correct.
Not to put those down, those businesses, those owners down. It's just we don't
need another one. We're not saying no. We're just I don't need another one of those.
That market's saturated.
Yeah.
Let's bring in a bakery, a French bakery. Ooh. Let's bring in a vineyard, a Black vineyard.
A tea company.
Yes.
Yes.
A tea company. I mean, all of these different types of services that we know we patronize.
We do.
But we have to go someplace else
Agreed.
to take advantage
Agreed. And I think, Vince, I've been on this fight because I find that professional services, retail businesses, all need to be in the same space, right? So when I think of my ideal location and where I see thriving professional services and retail work is up north. I see the law firm that's on the second floor above that cute store that services pastries, right? And then I go a block away. That's also a great space. That's a daycare center or a small school, all of this. And so what happens is when you go to that school, what do you say? Oh, go to Tom. Tom does great. His office is right up the street. Yeah. That's community.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
What happens is we talk, but that business is, a few miles away or from a proximity standpoint. So we're not literally creating, I truly believe, like this fence, right? This fence of opportunity that we all can win together, right? I think it's this fence. And when we talk about in the marketing is geo-fencing, but I also think there's also fencing that you can say, like, if this retail business is here, there's a legal service. So for every retail, put a professional service so that they have also a trusted source that they can go to. We just forget about that. And, I champion that because what I find is that many of them are using our services, but many of them don't feel like they can trust them. So if you're a block away or 2 blocks away, guess what? I can knock on my attorney's door and be like, hey, we got a situation. Now, granted, we understand, with digital, we can hop on Zoom. That's great. Sure. But sometimes you want to talk it out. Yeah. And I want to say this. I remember, Vince, it was a business and I am always having multiple streams or finding ways to make additional money, right?
You are a true entrepreneur.
Like, what else can I do?
Right.
And so Margot with Ain't She Sweet Cafe, when she was on 45th in Cottage Grove years ago, I went in there to sit down with her to help me understand the landscape of urban planning when it came to like choosing the right restaurants. Yeah. She sat down with me, like literally sat down in the in the cafe. I bought food. That kind of stuff happens when you have this fence around us for safety. Yeah. I feel safe with this trusted service. We're not trying to take or rob from each other, right? Yeah. We're supporting each other. And so I think what happens in a lot of our communities, we have one great business and we don't see another great one for another 10 blocks. Yeah. So there's not a fence to be able to protect. I mean, you see it now on Cottage Grove. You're seeing some things. We just need more of it.
Absolutely.
We just need more of it, right?
I like to think of those as self-sustaining communities.
Yes.
And the geofencing, yes. I equate it to what I'm calling an ecosystem.
Yes.
An ecosystem of support.
Yeah.
And that's where you have your professional services. Yes. You have your contractors.
Yes.
You have all the things that are necessary for a thriving business.
Correct.
To keep going.
Correct.
And it's multiple of them. Not just one or two, right?
It's 5 law firms
Absolutely.
that you can go to.
Absolutely.
It's 5,
architects.
Exactly.
Chiropractors.
Yes.
Pediatricians, daycare, everything that marketing firms, like literally everything that you could want that can be there. And they are providing you the support necessary for you as a small business to say, all right, I can do this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I don't have to make those. I don't have, everyone's going to encounter some hurdles, but I don't have to, that hurdle's not so high because I've got a support system here now that's helping with it.
Yeah.
And so I think if we continue to have conversations like this, and I always use the term, we're controlling our narrative now.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing.
Exactly.
Still having some challenges.
Yeah.
Access to capital.
It's still an issue.
Access to some resources.
Yeah.
The fact that, you crabs in the barrel.
We still have that going on.
You're going to have some of that.
Yeah.
But there can be a way for us to say, you know what? Squash that noise.
Correct.
Because I'm not trying to hear it. And it doesn't define who we are
Absolutely.
and what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the things that attracted me to, now with Entrepreneurs Academy, to essentially be an organization that is providing these resources and not dumbing it down.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we should, as entrepreneurs, have to take, a layman's terms, if
Correct.
you will, to find the resources necessary for us to be successful.
And I think, it's funny, Vince, we had Lanier Richardson from Chicago Trend. Love him. Awesome friend, colleague, all of that.
Very nice and diverse portfolio,
Very diverse
too.
portfolio. But I had presented this podcast idea because he was, talking to investors and they didn't know where to invest, right? And so this is how this was created because we wanted to be, this is how this was. He asked me and I said, there's not a platform where there was no barrier for people to learn. Think about it. A podcast is no barrier. You don't have to go in a store and look like you're buying this Black entrepreneur, Black enterprise book and you're a different color, right?
Yeah.
So now you can log on at home, at work, and really take in information and show up in these business environments and say, hey, I do know a Black business, right? So that was the purpose of it. But one of the things that Lanier said, what would it look like if Black businesses were overfunded? Right?
I'd love to find out.
And I said the same thing. And I think the things that you're doing allows, because overfunding isn't just dollars, right? It's like you said, it's HR,
resources.
it's IT, it's legal. It's like, imagine if we had all of that. What would our businesses really look like? Not only would they thrive, but they could also probably expand.
Absolutely.
Right? Multiple locations, right? So they could have a co-founder.
That franchise.
They can they can create the franchise for them. Like, we just don't understand, like, the fact that there is literally lack of access from it keeps us from being able to take on that $1 million project. We have the capacity, but we may not have the liquid. Right? We don't have the credit worthiness.
There'll be some barrier
barrier
that's been placed out there to make sure that we, as a thriving business or growing business, can't fully take advantage.
Correct. And so I definitely still challenge us to really think about that and how do we overfund.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
That would be a nice project.
Correct.
Right?
Like, you ask for $1 million, but you get 2.
Yeah, right.
Like, so what? Like, why
now
not?
Let's see what you did.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we think because we got that $1 million, right, that we can't get to 2. We also are happy to get the $1 million because it took us so long to get that. But that $1 million also is because we were behind for so long that we're playing catch up with the $1 million. So you really aren't profiting from that standpoint. So now I want to talk to you, Vince, because we got to talk about D&I, right?
Absolutely.
D&I, as we call it, is this, we feel as as a marketing agency, is D&I is our new marketing jargon? Like, are we replacing this idea of, having a marketing campaign versus having a D&I campaign that addresses inclusion, that addresses equity, that addresses diversity? And so is that something, is that here to stay? We've got D&I, we've got BIPOC, right? Mm-hmm. We're not hearing minority. So, I don't know. Is that going away? And so as we see as companies are investing, I'm hearing the investment go into D&I than I'm necessarily seeing. And that's okay, right? D&I, but it falls up under Black, LGBT, it's women, it's all of that. But we also know that if you extract all of those on its own, they need their own kind of ecosystem, right? So are we all being lumped? Are we still going to get the same amount of dollars that we see for ourselves? Like, are we literally taking from each other where you could be a woman and be, a Black-owned business and be a member of LGBT? You know what I mean? Like, are we, is it coming together to really amplify, or is it coming together in a way that we're taking away?
Yeah. No, I love that you brought this question up because, being in the space for a number of years, It's necessary. And being an advocate, if you will, for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, access. There's so many things that are happening now. I think what we're seeing now is that we're evolving as businesses and as the business community. And let me dive a little deeper into that. Before, we were called minority because there were few of us that were in the businesses and there. Okay. But what got lumped into that? White women.
That's right.
Because they were a minority. By definition.
By definition.
Not by color and
skin color,
and things like that. And so now, as we've evolved more as a business entity or business entities in plural, you're seeing that it's necessary for us to really define diverse business, equitable business. Are we including those businesses? And so this is where the DEI, I think, is becoming necessary. But I also, and not to trivialize this, but I think I personally am not a fan of African American.
Okay. Tell me.
I don't mind the term Black.
I'm with you. Okay.
I'm Black.
Got it. But break that down for people.
I just don't know a lot about my African roots,
Agreed.
my
That's
African
how I
side.
felt the same way.
We were robbed of that.
Yeah.
It was beaten away from us.
Sure.
It was, taken away from us. I'm not, discrediting it. I'm proud of this. But some of my African brothers and sisters are saying, you're not African. You're like, no shit. No, I'm not, But my history, my historical side is. And so that's where I think this BIPOC and some of the other terms that are now being introduced into how we're using and talking about businesses of color.
Yeah.
And so this, again, is just the evolution.
Okay.
The evolution.
Okay, we'll
now,
take it.
I think still that it's necessary.
Yeah.
I think that for these organizations that, again, want to intentionally support diverse businesses, it's necessary for them to be recognized as that and to be certified because we know that there's inequities that exist.
Yeah.
And I think in the past they called it, let's just set aside some money for this or for this particular, demographic or for this particular type of business. And again, evolution. I'm not setting it aside.
Yep.
I'm intentionally
supporting,
spending money there.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's really important for us to have the conversations, to make sure that we are using the word and not making it derogatory, not trying to just associate it with one race, if you will, but also just to say, look, we're going to keep having this conversation because we got to get it right.
We do.
It's a fact that diverse businesses contribute positively to your bottom line.
It does.
Period. And if you don't have it, your bottom line is static.
Yeah. It's proven.
Right.
And it's proven, and we don't realize the impact. And I'm glad because one of the things that we found, as an agency, that we felt that diverse wasn't about color. It was about thought.
Exactly.
I can have my team all literally work in this space, but have a different thought around what they see. And we've never been we've allowed what's there is what's there and not allowing for there to be thought into it, right? Absolutely. And so diversity in thought says we can have someone that's 18 in the business and we can have someone that's 48 and have very different perspectives.
I love that.
But we can also find ways to include both of those perspectives to be able to talk to that audience. And I think that to your point about belonging, if, I was listening to someone, where do we spend most of our time? Work, right? So that is something we belong to.
There's something else outside?
Nothing else, right? It's work. You spend all your...
there's life?
There's life. But most of us are working most of that, right? So when you think about it from the standpoint of that, then include some of the interests that they have.
Absolutely.
Include some of the things that they care about. So when we think about companies that say, hey, there's this, Black woman who leads our, that works for us. Have you ever asked her what movies she liked?
Right.
Have you ever asked her what her, correct, what do they do on Thanksgiving? That's what inclusion looks
Absolutely.
like. That's what diversity in thought looks like.
Yeah.
It's not putting a black face. It's understanding this amazing soul that came to work for your organization and the fact that they have some value there.
Yeah.
And I think as we continue to see it, so what I do here is that D&I is just the evolution, right? And understanding that even as an agency, we have to evolve, right? We can't speak language that really doesn't resonate to an audience anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We can't.
No.
You can't.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that if that is it, then be intentional. You say that. Be intentional. You're listening to Black Businesses Matter, and we will continue our conversation in a second. But first, take a listen to this special message for our BBM fam.
We know how important it is to stay connected, so why not join our BBM Fam Club for special announcements and exclusive offers by texting BBM FAM to 312-300-1300. That's BBM FAM to 312-300-1300 today. Now let's get back to Black Businesses Matter.
Vincent, it was so many ways where I saw how you could take $1 million and you say, we're going to give $1 million. And you split that $1 million into 4 businesses. And you say, hey, we're going to give just so that we gave.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter if that company profits. It doesn't matter if that company actually is able to do something. We gave it to them.
Yeah.
No. They earned it. You didn't give it to it.
Right.
They earned it. But I think that's the difference is that and you said it, we've set this money aside and look, we gave it. But is it give, or to me, is it necessarily as you see us?
Right.
I see you.
Yeah.
And I want to continue to work with you. I see you.
Yeah.
And I think that we haven't. So this idea.
Continue to give.
Continue to
Right.
give.
Because
right?
you surpassed,
You see us.
you met,
Correct.
you've done it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think, we have not seen it. And so I do want to talk about the Entrepreneurs Academy. I want to talk a little bit about.
If I could add in a little bit too
Yeah.
before we go in, I like that you highlighted how DEI is, of course, being inclusive of this diverse individual, so that you have diverse thoughts in the process,
Correct.
in the strategy,
Yeah.
in the planning
Yeah.
of how we are running this organization.
Correct.
But I also think that it includes having diverse experiences.
Yes.
And those experiences are what is going to contribute to the longevity of your respective business and organization, which is why it's necessary to have that 18-year-old and that 48-year-old, because I'm bringing different experiences to the conversation, to the way we're engaging with our employees, our employer, so many our customers. There's so many different positives, if you will, that come from that. And for those organizations that don't get that and are not diverse, why?
Yeah. Shame on you.
Yeah.
And we're
absolutely.
publishing a piece on Monday, and we said, just sometimes we have to imagine that, right? Imagine where you can be seen, right? You know what I mean? Where you can be seen for who you are, that you don't have to push that person kind of in a pocket.
Can I have some hair if you're going to see me, though? Look now.
But balls are in, though. But balls are in, though, baby. That's the new thing. The balls are in. They say
Jordan
that.
brought it in now. Jordan brought
it in. He brought a culture that ultimately, right, that we would not have seen. And I said, it's funny when you say Michael Jordan, I said we always say, I think that Nike is a classic example of pivoting, right? How do you still have someone who ain't played ball
in decades
and it's still relevant today?
Yeah.
You know why? Because they were culturally relevant, they were sensitive, they were aware of the circumstance of what happened, and they pivot accordingly.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to realize. And I think We don't understand that power of you can still be relevant at 10 years, 15 years. So that idea of like, because, age is still a factor, right?
Absolutely.
Age, we see companies where they want young people, they don't want old people. Then they decide, I don't want these young people, I want to go back to old people. Like, just bring everybody to the table, right? But create an equitable space where all people are heard and seen, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
I think it's when I say, imagine, if businesses were overfunded, but imagine if every person of color was seen and heard.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? That just, it felt something. It feels a certain. It would be some conversations, right?
I love when you say that because you know what I think of? The Wiz, Brand New Day.
Brand New Day.
Brand New Day.
Oh my gosh. And that's my favorite.
Right?
Like, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But that's why it makes you feel like that.
Did you know that Luther Vandross wrote that song?
I did not. Wow.
Absolutely.
But don't you think The Wiz is a history lesson? Yeah, it was. Like, if you watch that.
It was brilliance. It was brilliance in the making. When you look at how they took all of the different aspects of that historical movie, white film, and diversified it to show, look.
We different.
Yeah,
we different.
Absolutely.
But we all in a room.
Different experiences.
Yes.
Different ways that we're, different views, different
hearts.
lenses.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
All of that.
Yeah.
So relevant.
It is still relevant today. I think we could use that. I think
that's
that's
72. So,
Yeah,
it's
a lot, but it's still
almost
relevant.
50 years old.
Almost 50 years. And the fact that, right?
It is 50 years.
It is 50 years, which is why they did they're doing the Broadway play.
I saw it.
I saw it too.
When it came in Chicago.
Oh my! I saw it. It was. It had me in tears because I think the fashion, the color, like all of that represents who we are.
We got flavor.
We got flavor. Like, you can't take that away from us.
Not at all.
But and
you shouldn't.
And you shouldn't.
And that's what I love too about being your authentic self, especially when it comes to our small businesses. Right?
Yeah. I'm unapologetic about that.
And we're showing,
Yeah, I'm not, because, we're about to approach our 100th episode.
All right. Snaps.
I know, right?
Facts.
And so I don't know that I saw that coming. But we stayed on the course.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we learned, and all these Black businesses, even in the small business, is each one of them had a why.
Yeah.
They had a why on why they started their business.
Yes.
They didn't wake up, and I think that's something you haven't seen, right? You see these Black businesses, but you don't understand the why, whether I was pushed out, whether I had to, whether I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
We haven't heard that story. Yeah. And I think I thought it was important to make sure that they're able to have that story, whether they are a 1-person shop, a 5-person shop, a 12-person shop, whatever it is, they have a story to tell. And so when I was doing my research and found out that literally 1 out of 3 Black businesses ever received any level of PR.
Yeah.
And what would that look like if you could share with your grandmother, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Right? Or share that with your friends that they see you working. I know that people thought I was, they didn't know what I do. They called me Tommy, but they knew I worked somewhere.
You ain't got no job.
You ain't got no job. You just on the phone and on that computer all the time. So I think that, if as we think about small businesses and we honor, that small business that you go to, whether that's that coffee shop, really think about, the time that it takes for them, right? Yeah. And that they too have a family, but they found a small business that they thought that they were passionate about, to love, and that Black business, they fought to get capital. Know that they didn't get it,
right? And
it was just handed to them.
But
that's
still,
the part.
On a prayer, continue to operate.
Yeah,
right.
Continue to operate on a prayer.
We're seeing that, I think, too, today with some of these 3rd and 4th generation owners, if you will, of establishments, funeral homes, bakeries, barbecue shops, chicken joints, today. And it's because the newer generation, or the generation that is inheriting this, their passion isn't the same.
Yeah.
It wasn't a necessity for them. And not to say that they essentially grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth. Like, the publishing company heirs, or anything at all like that. It's just that does this new generation understand, again, the history, those challenges, and why this is necessary for us to sustain, just as a race, as a people. How can we, and that's why I love what you're doing, because you're sharing these stories now. And now they're going to be archived and live 100 episodes and going.
Wow. That's kinda,
you did
oh
that.
my gosh, that kind of made me feel like, oh my gosh, an archive. And, it almost feels like, wow.
At the Presidential Center. Come on, let's claim this.
Let's claim that. I like that. I love when I talk to this because he put a little umph in me. Like, let's claim it. And I believe that.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I believe that.
Let's get this out there because it is needed, it's necessary, and it's a way for us, again, to control our narrative. Yeah. Now, for the new generation that really is, this is one of the things that I teach in class. You can either work for someone or you can work for yourself. Yeah. And with entrepreneurial education and training, that's what we're teaching you. Yeah. If this stuff was easy, everybody would do it. Yeah. And that's the reasons why you see what's happening in the small business marketplace. Yeah. They come and they go. They fail, they succeed, what it is. But did you also know that Black entrepreneurs and Hispanic entrepreneurs 4 times more likely to commit suicide than any other race? And it's because of the challenges. Yeah. It's because of the hard things that you have to go through.
And
the barriers. Yeah. Why do I have to go buy a chicken sandwich and you behind 2 inches of bulletproof glass? Help me to understand that. Yeah. What is that doing to my psyche?
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Man.
And so by weaving in just these conversations of, is that necessary? Is it still necessary? In some cases it is. But we shouldn't have to.
We shouldn't.
Right.
And the other part I was sharing with someone, I said, this whole idea of podcasts is real easy, right? When people ask me questions, I always say, check out this episode. If you really believe me, check out this episode.
Proofs in the pudding.
Right? Yeah. Because I could tell you out of my mouth, but I could also show you, right? And I could show you something that's published, that's warranted, that's been proven, that's been said, that it didn't come from me, right? Yeah. But we don't realize that we're constantly sharing this. I'm intentional with supporting Black. That's who I am. But I don't shame anyone from it because I don't think it's about shaming. I think it's about educating.
Absolutely.
Right? Educating. If I know a good eyeglass and, oh, by the way, she's Black, then I'm going to tell you.
It's
and
necessary.
I'm okay. But you're going to make the decision that works for you in your pocketbook. Mm-hmm. But know that I also think we have to also understand that the standard that we should live in, right? Yeah. So just because something is, I still want good service, right? I still want quality service and a quality outcome. Yeah. And I think that that's the other part that sometimes I think people think that if I buy from them, then that means that the quality is not going to be the same. And I think that's some of the things that we go through.
Absolutely.
Whether you're the decision maker as Black or white, you still believe that.
Yeah.
Right? You still believe that.
I love where you're going with it because I think, again, Black businesses matter. And it needs to be underscored and highlighted and bold-faced, and everything there. Look at the other entrepreneurs, if you will, out there. Entrepreneurs that are of non-color. Yeah. They patronize one another.
They do.
They continue to spend money in their communities. But you have to think of what it is they have. Italians have Italian food. Mexicans have Mexican food. Arabic has Arabic food. Japanese have Indian food. Right? You have all these different types. But when you come back to saying, Blacks, African Americans, whatever term you want to use, you're saying I don't have a food that I can't support?
Wow.
But we do.
We do.
But you're telling me that we don't. Was it because you had taken that from us? I don't want to go into, because I'm not upset over it. I'm just saying it just shows how resilient we are. It shows how we can continue to
evolve and
absolutely.
Pivot. Yeah. And we're brilliant.
Oh, come on.
We can take some baked chicken and turn it into a whole thing. You this is just baked chicken that my mom put in the oven, but they didn't turn it into something else.
Flavor.
Yeah. I agree. They didn't add some rosemary.
Yeah,
You're right.
I agree. And that's why, again, I think DEI, to bring that home is necessary. because those experiences need to be brought in to how we, as races, different races of people, coexist.
I love it.
And how we, as an ecosystem that's supporting one another, is going to continue to coexist and sustain. God forbid another pandemic happens.
Yeah.
And we're forced to stay within our respective communities because we just can't go out. I mean, that was really difficult for a lot of people. But if I can't, because I can't get over there to get that, what other, ethnic food that I love that's over there.
Yeah, that's so true.
Why is
I'm
it
stuck.
not here?
Yeah. Which is why I think these community gardens and things like that are popping up, what you were saying, so that we can get quality in these communities. Because, one of the things, and I think the word that I love now is marginalized, because I don't think we should be, I don't think we should be scrutinized based on color, but I think we should be supported by the fact that it's literally marginal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can be college educated, have a mother and a father in a home. Mm-hmm. Let's just give you some basic, right? Yeah. Have this same college educated, right? Employed, pretty nice, have a car. You take that and it's a different person, right? Mm-hmm. The difference is that different person can live in an area where they can go to these different places. Mm-hmm. To your point, they can have these kinds of services. They don't have to be like, oh, well, that's going to cost you double because you're in this community. Right. They have that. So then you take me who want that. That's what I say what marginalized looks like, right? Yeah. We have the college, same exact demo, right? But because you live here and I live here, you pay $20 more. I'm sorry, less than I pay.
Right.
But over here,
what's that about?
More. What's that about?
Yeah. Are they not the same?
Are they not the same? But we have.
They not come from the same refinery? I mean, when you said that, I immediately thought of gas prices.
That part.
Why the heck is they so much more in the black communities?
When I come over to certain neighborhoods, I'm like, I could go get my cheap gas there. I can't get it in my community.
Right.
What's that about? Yes, and we're seeing that with some food.
Yeah.
We're starting to see that with food. Before, I don't know if I felt like it was over a little bit, but now it's kind of like, you mean to tell me I was just down the street at this neighborhood and it's like $2 less?
Right.
And it's the same store.
Same truck delivered them.
Same truck, same store. So we're starting to be, and I think that's what we say is we have to be culturally aware. Yeah. And being culturally aware for companies now, as an agency, that's what we try to, like, being culturally aware is, to me, could be your superpower. Yeah. And being able to do that. So,
and it shows the blatant inequities.
It is the blatant. That's exactly.
It's obvious.
It's obvious.
You're like, okay, help me make sense of this.
I mean, how we understand this? Now I can see if I'm in it. Land a different sales tax or from it's a different sales tax, but we literally are in the same
geographic area, everything there, 6-block radius.
And it's
what? Big difference.
It's ridiculous. So that's something that I hope will change soon. I hope. So Vince,
when you become president, see now I'm gonna put it out there.
I'm a good vice president. I'm a good vice president. I'm a very good vice president.
I want you to put these laws in.
I'm a good vice president. I tell everybody I'm a good vice president. I could be a great vice president because I think vice presidents probably do most of the work. Yeah. That's probably why I'm saying that. There. And the president is the face. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I think that's what happens. So tell me this, Vince, as we kind of, I want to specifically talk about Entrepreneurs Academy. Who is it for?
Absolutely.
Is it for established businesses? For that, I want to.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity again to share what this mission and this vision, if you will, that we're on. So we're a nonprofit, based on the west side of Chicago. Phil Fairweather is the president and CEO, and it's his brainchild that he created a number of years ago. But we were recently funded on our own from ICJA, the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority. Okay. Basically, it's the cannabis tax money.
Okay.
From Illinois. As you know, it's really elevated.
It has.
Puff, puff, pass.
I know.
Keep it going.
I love it. I just want
I
us.
get to
I just
use
want
some
us
of
to
this.
be benefit from it. So it sounds like it is.
Right.
Okay.
And so we've, for the past 2 years now, have received funding from this organization to provide this entrepreneurial educational training within these marginalized communities.
Okay.
We focus on 5 demographics: Black, Hispanic, veterans, the LGBTQIA plus community, and formerly incarcerated, or as we call them today, justice impacted, those that were justice impacted. And what we look at is these 5 demographics because many of them, again, entrepreneurs in their own right, just need access to resources and educational training so that I can take this idea and run with it. And what I say when you get out of, it's a 12-week long course.
Nice.
We offer it in the fall and the spring. I currently got 91 students
Nice.
in class. I teach on the west side in the Austin community at Bethel
Okay.
New Life.
Oh,
I teach
Bethel
on
New
the south
Life.
side
Okay.
at in Chatham, 87th
Okay.
and Cottage, and I teach in the south suburbs at the Harvey Public Library.
Nice.
And each of these locations have different types of entrepreneurs. Some of them are established businesses, been in business for 10, 7, 5 years. Others are startup organizations.
Okay.
Ratio-wise, about 70% women,
Nice.
combination of Black, Hispanics. Again, each of the demographics that we're serving.
Okay.
We're intentionally
Veterans.
going after this.
Veterans,
Absolutely.
Oh, nice.
The
Nice.
LGBTQIA
Nice.
plus
I love
community,
it.
yeah.
Nice.
And those justice impacted.
Nice.
And so in addition to that, we have partners that we've identified, like the Safer Foundation, that
Okay.
works with those that are re-entering into society. And so now I have a captive audience of those that were formerly incarcerated that I can teach entrepreneurship.
I love it.
And what we say
Is
is,
it free?
it's free.
Wait.
Zero cost.
Free 99?
Free 99.
Y'all heard it on Black Businesses
Absolutely.
Matter. So those
Yeah.
that want to become entrepreneurs and have this,
And
here's a free opportunity.
it's an ecosystem. Once you complete the actual 12-week course, you're not done. You still get me, Phil, Ron,
Wow.
all the others, the mentors within our organization to provide that technical assistance that's necessary.
that.
We're not just putting you out there. And it's called FLEET, Fast Launch Entrepreneurial Education Training.
Oh, wow.
We're launching a fleet of new entrepreneurs into the ecosystem.
I love it.
And now we're up to 360 past businesses that have graduated, and now another 91 will be coming out in 3 short weeks.
Wow.
And we just continue to nurture them and provide them with resources. We just recently had a group of attorneys that came into class and talked to them about the importance of having that lease agreement reviewed,
Yeah.
the importance of having an attorney as a part of your network, of your ecosystem, if you will,
Absolutely.
to look over items and make sure, is there a non-disclosure or a non-compete, or what does that look like,
Yeah.
from there. I also call it your A-team. You need that executive assistant,
Yeah.
so you have to have that assistant. You got to have that attorney to look over some items and make sure that's in place. You have to have that accountant
Yeah. That's
to make sure those books and everything are in order. And you got to have a group of advisors,
agreed.
your personal advisors, your personal board, and then the board that's going to help you with your business.
I love
And this A-team is really going to empower you to keep you going. And so I'd love to share with your listeners, we have a great event that's coming up on June the 1st of this
Okay.
year.
Okay.
It's going to be at Mandrake Park over in Bronzeville.
Oh, yeah.
It's called the Building Wealth and Wellness Festival.
Oh.
And so we pull together, we have about 60 vendors out there in the park. We've got a stage, a DJ. We've got a senior citizen home that's just across the street that comes over, and the seniors double dutch.
Oh, I know how to double dutch too. I want to participate.
We've got about 10 food trucks that show up, and so we
Nice.
participate in this. And it's really just a diverse opportunity for us to showcase to the community that we come from, that we care, and then look at these businesses. And they're everything from professional service firms, event firms.
Nice.
We had another sister that has the 360 photo booth. We have bouncy houses. The kids get face painting. We have boutiques, stores. There's
Nice.
shea butter. There's colognes. I mean, just so much. Again, just to showcase really what's available. And it's Saturday, June 1st from 12 to 6 in Mandrake Park, located at 38th and Cottage Grove. We did the same event last year, but we're highlighting this year a panel discussion with a group of women panelists that's talking about trauma and how they've turned that into entrepreneurship,
I love
the
it.
traumas they received. So we've got a group of women panelists,
wanna be there.
various backgrounds that have talked about just some of the challenges they went through from, abusive relationships, being formerly incarcerated, to channeling that to empower them now, be it a nonprofit, a for-profit business, to take that and run with it.
Oh my
And
gosh,
Cook County Board of President Preckwinkle will be there, to actually, open this for us. But I think it's going to be a powerful discussion, and I'd love to, filter them your way because these entrepreneurs are doing it, and they've been doing it for 7 to 10 years. They're
love
not just
this
new businesses.
Oh my God. I mean, this is like giving me chills because this is right in, in the neighborhood. And I think that's beautiful. You didn't take it downtown. No. You could have. You could have taken it to the suburbs, but you took it.
And maybe eventually we can have multiples like that.
But I think that, we need this in your neighbor communities where we live, but we don't necessarily shop and buy services. Mm-hmm. So I love it. I love it, Vince. I just love you.
Thank you. I'm trying, man. I don't know if it's right. I don't profess to have all the answers, but I'm trying.
But I love it. You've always, to me, celebrated disruption. If you're like, okay, well, let's figure out how to make this happen, to do this, and so that it's not necessarily. And I think I always say I'm a disruptor, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. And it's not to disrupt, but it's necessary.
Yeah, it's necessary.
It's necessary to undo and unchange. And so I'm grateful for you to be here for National Small Business Week. I knew we would just have a good time. I knew that. So one of the things I do want to ask you, how will people find out about this event?
Absolutely. So you can access our website at www.entrepreneursacademy.net, and that's entrepreneurs with an S, and academy.net. We're on all social media, Facebook. In addition to the entrepreneurial training, we also teach introduction to drone photography. So how to actually fly the drones. Nice. It's a great way to empower, especially some of those that are formerly incarcerated, because you're your own boss. Yeah. From $90 to $200 an hour, they can get. We don't just teach the introduction to drone photography. We teach how to pass the Part 107, so you can become a commercial drone pilot. Wow. And still charge for that. Wow. And then we have an introduction to urban farming. Nice. And so we have a farm located over in Woodlawn, 67 in St. Lawrence. We partnered with the Salam Wellness Center over there. Beautiful garden space, and it's a smart garden. And so we're introducing technology to the community. And so we've got various kitchen herbs and greens. We're providing these fresh, non-pesticide, organic fertilizer to some of the restaurants in the community. But when you come to visit this garden, there's QR codes in front of each of the vegetables. You scan that QR code. It tells you what that vegetable is, the medicinal properties that vegetable possesses, and provides you with a recipe. Wow. So you can go home and do it. And so we're encouraging the community to come out, host events there, walk around, see some of the great things, and we're even incorporating hydroponics.
Wow.
So just really trying to, because again, God forbid another pandemic happens, these communities now can self-sustain by having an urban farm there. And we just want to share some of the information that's out there. We're getting a ton of great supporters. If you go to our website, you can see where to volunteer, where to support, and even if you'd like to just donate.
Okay.
We'd always take funding if you want.
I'm so glad you said that. I try to tell people, because we have listeners all over the world, right? So they may not be in Chicago. Yeah. So how can they support? They can donate.
Absolutely.
I love that. Donation works. So tell me this, Vince. You said it around, but I got to ask this because we still have listeners still chiming in. Why does Black businesses matter?
Do you really?
Because I need the people in the back to hear it.
Listen, Black businesses matter because without these diverse businesses, with our experience as a race, as a people, to provide, this wouldn't be America.
This wouldn't be America.
Right?
Wow.
This wouldn't be land of the free.
I was going where people want to come here. That's true.
The opportunities, home of the brave. We're dealing a lot here in Chicago with, a lot of the migrants essentially that are coming in. And we're seeing, there's going to be a lot that's happening now, But think again of us, meaning Blacks as a race of people, and just the injustices that we've had to deal with and still continue to deal with. And so to say that Black businesses do not matter, shame on you. Shame on you for even thinking that, and shame on you for even wanting to instill that in any community or any organization. It's just, it's really, I can't speak volumes enough on why. And then why would you want to exclude just based on either that color of the skin or that experience that they're about to bring to the table?
Wow.
And so that's why I feel Black businesses matter. Will always matter.
We will always matter. This has been amazing. So tell me this, what brings you joy with the work that you do?
Oh, my goodness. What fills my heart is when one of the entrepreneurs or someone that I've encountered, I run into either on the street or they drop me an email or send me a text and they just say, you know what? Something you said resonated with me. And because of that, I just got this contract. Or I just opened my first brick and mortar. Or I just, open another account so that now I have generational wealth for my family. Just those little things like that, I celebrate. I sleep well at night because of it. I put a big old smile on my face. I high five them when I can because I see them. And I really think that my experiences, my education,
Your passion.
my passion is to empower our people and those that want to be a part of our ecosystem to know that they can succeed.
And you are that person. You really are.
Thank you.
You really are that
Thank
person.
you. I don't want the accolades. I don't necessarily want the awards or anything in there. It's for me, it's a legacy build. I'm a sole survivor. My parents are gone. My siblings are gone. I don't have any children. So I feel if I can take all of my life's experiences to date and those that are coming and fuel this next generation or the existing generation now by sharing just something that they may not have known.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work then.
Yeah, you are. And I celebrate you for just being here with us.
Thank you.
I knew that when we did get you, it would be the right time, and we did. And my heart is full that we did this because sometimes I question, should we do it, right? Because that's what business owners always do.
Yeah, don't question it. I just do.
So sometimes I do, but this has been outstanding. And Vincent is just, and I know him as Vincent. So guys, you hear me go back and forth. I try to be politically,
call me potato head.
I try to be right. I'm like Vincent, but I know him as Vince, but it's all good. But I will say this, this has been a joy today. We just be mindful that if the world sees Small Business Week as something powerful, that we see that for ourselves. Absolutely. And so we challenge ourselves to do that in supporting Black businesses. And I will say this, Tom Joyner, when he created 365 Days, that was the platform that he created. He planted those seeds, and clearly I had the opportunity to work with him, and I felt the same way, that why couldn't we do that? Yeah. And so why can't we do that and continue to do that? It's and I think you've said it, we're evolving. We're getting there. Yeah. We're getting there. We may not see it in our lifetime, but we might. Who knows? We saw a Black president.
I was going to say, didn't think we were going to see a Black president.
Think we will see a Black president.
Black vice president now, right?
So, you know what I mean? I think we will see it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, listeners.
Keep on, girl. Keep doing your thing. L3 Agency.
Get me out of my comfort zone. I don't talk enough about what we do outside of this podcast. So thank you, Vince, for reminding me that. So guys, here's what I say for you listening to this episode. Share this with a friend. We don't do this often. We do the live stream kind of every quarter. And so when we do it live, we do episodes, share this link with a friend who wants to launch a business. Maybe they've been thinking about building a business and now they don't know when. The kids are out, right? They're empty nesters. Now it's time for them to kind of pursue themselves. So, here's an opportunity. When it's Small Business Week, it could be your opportunity to take that small idea that you have and turn it into a business. So you can be able to do that. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Again, take this podcast into your boardroom. This podcast is meant so that businesses who really want to be intentional with supporting Black businesses can hear about all of these episodes. As I mentioned, you all, we are approaching our 100th episode. So we are excited about that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for rocking with us. Thank you for seeing us. Thank you for leaving a review if you leave a review. All the things that you all have done, we appreciate it because we could not have done it without you all to get us to 100 years. So happy National Small Business Week.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Outstanding.
Bye-bye.
Whew, that was an intense episode. A key takeaway is the evolving terminology surrounding businesses of color. It is crucial for terms and processes to grow with the societal changes, and the importance of recognizing how the intersection of minority identities can advance your business. How would you describe your business? What sets it apart? Text keyword WOW to 312-300-1300. We'd love to hear all about your unique businesses. We may even highlight you on the podcast, so make sure you keep tuning in. For more insights, check out our show notes to connect with Vincent and the Entrepreneurs Academy. He is an invaluable resource.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.